Hello everybody and welcome back to Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2 Margin of Minis. So, in the last part we went through a tropical turmoil, and we are going to start things off with the next floor, called Pipeworks. Now, what this means is that for the majority of the levels, it's gonna be focused on a lot of pipes. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of pipes within the majority of these levels in this floor. Although, as you'll see here, some of which that you can actually turn. Yeah, this is when you actually have to turn, where you actually have to make the decision to turn these pipes around. So then you can actually get the mini Marios to go where you actually so then you can actually have the mini Marios get to where you actually want them to go. And let's just say you're gonna be doing this a bunch within this floor. Yeah. But anyways, everyone. Now, as I try to navigate for all this, now, one thing that I forgot to mention on the last floor is that, I forgot to mention that, now the floor itself is called Tropical Turmoil. And the British English version of the game, which is the version that I'm playing right now. Now, as for the other languages, it is actually called a tropical island. Yeah, it's just that it's something that I forgot to mention within the last one. And also, everyone, I guess I'll just say this right now. Now, while I was able to get through the first two floors within only just 2 videos, so you may be thinking that I would be able to go through every floor within just a single video. But, however, I'm thinking starting with this floor, yeah, considering there are some portions of levels that are probably gonna take me longer than expected of me. So, yeah, and there may be at some points where some levels may take longer than expected from me. Yeah, considering that some of these levels can take a lot longer for me to complete than expected. So, this may of course be the first instance where I'm probably not gonna finish off a floor within just a singular video. Yeah. But anyways, now with the now as you see here, with the addition of the water, now we have these water valves where you actually control which section of water can either be which can either rise with water or not. Yeah, and at some point you may have to continuously just keep on rising / letting the water fall. Yeah, you may have to do that several times over just so you can get the mini Marios, just so you can get the mini Marios get to where you actually want them, where you actually want them to go. And yeah, and at some point, if you're not careful, then you may accidentally drop the mini Marios into the water. Or if the water is not high enough, then you may end up having the mini Marios collapse, like a collapse on the ground. So yeah, that's something that you have to keep in mind. Oh yeah, and now with this level, this is actually one of the few exceptions where there's actually more than 3 mini Marios that we have to bring to the door. Where in this level's case, there's actually 6 of them. One of which is a golden Mario. Now, this one made it a little bit tough, considering that if you want all these guys to keep moving, then you're gonna have to keep in mind of where all of these mini Marios are going to go. Yeah, and as you saw, oh god, yeah, ow, yeah, I want to try that one again. Yeah, just to see if I can make sure I can get every mini Mario into the door. Probably not as a combo, considering what exactly this game considering that what this level wants you to do. If you want to get essentially, especially when it comes to if you want to get the golden mini Mario to enter the door last. But as you can see, I'm not exactly that good when it comes to getting all of these mini Marios into the door while making sure that the gold mini Mario goes to it last. Yeah, like I said before, I'm not exactly the expert at this game. Okay, now we're just gonna go through as best as I can on this floor. Now I guess what I should say as well, now this floor, now within the previous 2 floors, we heard we heard a music that was present within the previous Mario vs. Donkey Kong game. But however, for a Pipeworks, now this floor is the only floor. No, is where the only floor's music, music tracks, where they're actually entirely original composed. Yeah, meaning that this is the only floor where there is original music. Yeah, no music we've heard in any of the previous Mario titles. Yeah, yeah, that's what makes this floor really special. Yeah, honestly, that's what makes this floor really special. It's special in that regard. Yeah. But anyways, everyone, as you can see, now started with this floor, we get the return of the Thwomps. Now, just like in the previous Mario vs. Donkey Kong title, the Thwomps will make some noises, indicating that they are about to fall, and then after a few seconds, that's when they'll fall. Now, if you want to have your best chance to avoid them, well, you can either try your best to go under them before they even have a chance to crush you. Or you can essentially have them wait until the Thwomp actually drops. Then as they rise back up, then you can have yourself a chance to actually be able to have yourself a chance to not get yourself crushed by them. Yeah, but anyways, now I guess as I am trying best to figure out how exactly am I gonna get all 3 of these mini Marios up there without getting any single one of them crushed. As best I can anyway. Oh god. Oh god, I think I may be screwed. Oh god. Yeah, you guys go up there, please. Oh my god. Oh, you go the wrong way again. Hold on. How did that mini Mario get yourself over there? Wait, did you jump in there? I forget. But anyways, as I'm trying my best to figure this out, now I guess one more trivia that I can mention that is something that you guys who are brand new to video games may not exactly know... Oh god! Shit. Yeah, I was trying my best to avoid that Thwomp, but nope. Yeah, it just did. Yeah, it just did not want to work out that way. But anyways, everyone, now, as I was saying about a little bit of a trivia. Oh, I'm starting with this game, and it's that, well, and it's that, now for those of you guys who be playing video games, nowadays, specifically, specifically, from Mario titles, where you guys have never seen Pauline, like, within the majority of the new video games that have been released nowadays. Well, that wasn't entirely the case. Way before Super Mario Odyssey was ever released. Yeah, well, you see, you see, everyone, now, while Pauline was one of the few Mario characters first introduced in the entirety of the series, well, and even though she did make quite a few appearances in the Donkey Kong titles, yeah. But however, for those of you that don't know this, after the release of the Donkey Kong game that was released on the Game Boy, which was back in 1994. Get this. Pauline did not show up in any Mario title until the release of this game, which was originally released. No, which was originally released back in 2006. Yeah, so essentially what I'm getting at is that Pauline did not show up for like 12 years. Yeah, I know, that is a really long time for a main character who is essentially considered to be a main character in the series for such a really long time. Yeah. But then, even though she did started to show up in more of Mario vs. Donkey Kong games after this one, but however, her popularity did not skyrocket until of course the release of Super Mario Odyssey. Yeah, and of course ever since that game, yeah, and of course ever since Odyssey, Pauline's been showing up everywhere since then. Yeah, ever since Odyssey, Pauline's been showing up everywhere. Yeah, in the majority of the Mario games that have been released after Odyssey, yeah, you would more than often would see Pauline. Yeah, and even in the new, and even in, and of course even in a Donkey Kong from Bonanza. And speaking of a Donkey Kong, from back into the game here. Now starting with this floor is where we get introduced to the new Donkey Kong toy. I'm sure the Crash Kongs. Where if the Crash Kongs just so happen to notice the Mini Mario's presence, either whenever you're near them, or if they just so happen to turn themselves around, then they will try to run, or then they will try to make you get the, then they will try to get the Mini Marios, get themselves to essentially try to get the Mini Marios, either get themselves crushed into the walls, or in this level's case, actually have the Mini Marios either be dropped into the water, or even be dropped into spikes. So yeah, whenever you see a Crash Kong, yeah, make sure you try best to stand on them, because that is the only time that you will ever be safe with them. Yeah, that is probably going to be the only time that you'll ever get to be safe. Around those guys. But anyway, well, with that said, yeah, I feel like we've done more than a fair share for this one. Yeah, considering how long these levels really tough for me to go through. And so for the next part, we are most likely going to be finished. We're going to finish this off with this floor. And so until the next part, I'll see you guys next time.